You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It's your host, Brian Fullerton. And guys, we're doing a special episode today. Might even be a little echoey, but we have two awesome guests on the board, on the mixer with us. We got Bedell.
What's up, guys?
How we doing, brother?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Good, man. Bedell Property Management in the house. And then we've got John Pajak.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing, bro?
Doing awesome.
What's your actual business name?
Turf Tamer Lawn Care.
Turf Tamer Lawn Care. It's on the shirt, but I didn't even know you had like a business name other than like Pajak Lawn Care for like the first 3 or 4 years I knew you. So anyway, Paul Jamison is downstairs. He's on with Joseph right now.
Yeah.
Joseph DePace.
So he's cycling through people. I think I'm running Paul a little ragged right now.
Paul's running Paul a little ragged right now, but that's welcome to tour life, man.
That's it, man. He wanted to do his summer tour powered by Echo, so shout out to him and those guys, which is great. Green Industry Podcast, if you guys are following along. So I just wanted to do kind of like a little debrief with you guys. Yeah. Like we're all catching our breath, Pajak slamming the water, and but you guys have a lot in common actually, more than maybe some people listening in would relate to, is that you guys are about numbers, budgets, knowing your P&Ls. Two of my favorite guys to talk to about these topics. Bedell's helped me a lot over the years. If you guys have listened to the podcast for any length of time, there's literally a cat climbing up on Michael Bedell right now. You can shoo him. You can.
I mean, I love Frank, but I am allergic to you, buddy.
Frank, I am too.
You're such a good boy, though.
You can push him down. He's gonna try to cuddle with you.
Man, I can't push an animal. That's terrible. I'll let you do it.
Brian can.
Well,
sorry, Frank. I love you though.
Let's just say I'm more of a dog lover than a cat lover, and he came with the marriage. You know what I'm saying? He's a red Mac tabby, so he's we call him my redheaded stepchild. So you guys just came off the podcast with Paul Jamison. So Bedell, what did you guys get to talk about? You were down there for like a solid half hour.
Yeah. We were just talking about remaining profitable, and if you want to not use debt in your business, ways to do that intelligently, or ways if you wanted to move out of a position of debt, you could go about doing that. And we talked a little bit more about the way I run my company on a weekly basis, and cool. Then just gave you guys a little bit more insight, and let them know what Debt-Free Landscaper is all about. And they can go on over there and get that free budget download. And
a little plug for the Debt-Free Landscaper.
Ayo.
And snow contracts.
Yeah. Hey, snow contracts. Winter is coming. We're actually just talking about that while you're setting up this podcast here.
Hashtag Brian's 10 saves. Pretend on your snow contracts, right?
It sure does. 10%.
That's all the contracts I use for snow. I don't have any snow contracts. I get them from Bedell, and we've done $75,000 in snow in the last 3 winters. Nice. So that's been pretty good. Thanks to you.
Hey.
We'll take it.
Absolutely.
I think those $150 steak dinners at Black Rock paid off.
I would say so.
Awesome, guys. Well, we're going to get into it here in just a quick second. We're going to hear from one of our show sponsors, which is Steel. So once we hear from them, we'll get right back into hearing from Mike and John.
Battery power made by Steel. From trimmers and mowers to chainsaws and blowers, Steel battery tools are exactly what you need to tackle your to-do list. Whether you need to maintain your yard or completely transform your landscape. Battery power made by Steel. Steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot, always at a local Steel dealer. Real Steel. Find yours at steeldealers.com. Lowe's and the Home Depot are trademarks of their respective companies.
Awesome. We'll always appreciate Steel sponsoring the show, the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. So, guys, if you guys are in the market for any of your new handheld equipment, whether it's gas or battery, you guys can check out Steel at steel.com and steelusa.com, which is great. And also follow those guys on Instagram. They put out a lot of great content. And Lord knows we're going to be stocking up on new edgers, trimmers, blowers as we go into fall and make that leaf cleanup money. So, without further ado, let's get back into our interview with John and Mike, and we'll catch up with those guys here right now.
and truthfully, you haven't even had like a banger of a winter yet. You had like 2 average-ish winters, and then last winter was like borderline kind of a dud.
Well, and I only have like residential. I only had like 3 commercial sites, then 4 commercial sites, then 6 commercial sites. So like I can still double my snow game, and I'm just trying to get my feet going. But it's not a lot easier to get lawn clients than commercial snow clients.
Sure,
because
100%.
You know what I mean? Because once you have bigger properties, you have to have a bigger maintenance company. So I got to find these like pocket 1 acre type parking lots and sizes my little sweet spot.
Yeah, your sweet spot is the people who've gotten burned by those big companies too, and see the value in like responsive ownership and someone that like when they call, like they can call Brian and talk to Brian, not like Brian's secretary, and Brian might send out one of his guys if they maybe come in. I don't know.
8 hours later.
Yeah, that's. I was stunned to learn that when I was getting into the business that like these big boy companies, like when they get a call from a client, like it just takes an hour or even a day to get like responsive service.
I can never imagine.
Yeah.
Pajak, you guys get a lot of snow?
We had a dud of a year last year. So.
You guys had more of a dud than we did, yeah?
Oh, yeah. It was terrible.
Do you offer plowing?
No longer.
No longer?
No.
That was the icing on the cake, huh?
Actually, it was kind of... That decision was made before we had the dud of a year. So,
so it made you feel really good about your decision.
I felt amazing. I was not a slave to the weather for the entire winter. I was.
I remember what that was like vaguely.
It's weird. It's like you're sitting there going, wait, I don't have to stay up till 3 a.m. looking at the weather report
snowing and
every
I don't
5
care.
minutes.
Yeah. Well, salt runs for us are big because we get maybe a dozen plow runs, let's say, but we definitely get, what would you say, 30, 40 salt runs a year?
On an average year, I want to say we had like 20 something last year. But,
it was low.
40, and this could be we'll see if the cold air shows up. The lakes are really warm this year, the Great Lakes, and we get something called lake effect here, where you get the cold air moving across the warm lake, and it produces some snow showers. And if you're on the west side of Michigan or the northern part of Michigan, it means feet of snow. But
shows up.
For us, it means a coating to an inch, sometimes a little bit more. But a lot of that gets burned off with salt because that's what our clients like around here.
We'll see what happens. What were you saying?
I was just saying we're from where I'm at in Northwest Indiana, just east of us gets a ton of the lake effect snow.
Yeah.
We're right at that. We're right at the border where
the wind shifts just a little bit.
If the wind shifts a bit, then we're hammered. But other than that, like we will get like kind of like the same kind of weather pattern that Chicago gets.
Nice.
But if you're just about, about 6 miles to the east and a little bit further up north.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
game over.
We'll get 3 inches and they'll get 8.
Wow.
That's one of the anomalous things of winter versus summer, right? In the summer, like if you're having a drought, all your lawns are going to be dry. Or if you're getting crazy rain, like everything's going to be lush. Right. Versus winter, you can be driving around, you're like, this site's nothing, this night's something. How does this site have 2 inches all of a sudden? And
we run into that a lot.
Yeah, all the time.
Because a lot of your route is east of us.
Yes.
At least east of where I'm at. And there'll be sites where I have 2 inches and yours are like, no, dude, I got 6-inch snow drifts. And I'm like, or what? Like, how's that even possible?
Yeah.
And then vice versa. Other times I have 6 inches. Like, dude, I'm clear over here. Like, when do you need salt?
Yeah, you'll be like, you're already done. I'm like, well, yeah, most of my sites didn't need service. And you're like, I'm plowing 4 inches right now.
I'm like, yo, come help me out. Give me a hit. You're like, all right, whatever. So
I alleviated that problem years ago by switching over from granular salt to a liquid salt brine. I used a combination of liquid salt, liquid brine, and then
calcium chloride.
Calcium chloride.
Yeah.
So
Bedell's got a liquid rig.
I do.
Yeah.
Doing the pre-treats was it. Not only did it guarantee we got more income in a sense, it was still very reasonable for our clientele, but at the same time, it would burn off enough snow in the beginning so that we can have time to go and then service that account completely because. Like you said,
don't want that snow and ice bonding to the pavement.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
When Bedell would do the liquid, and of course, like the salt, or rock salt, the bulk salt, but the liquid, it could just go right down to the pavement.
Yeah.
And actually, a lot of my sites were like asphalt, so it would be just completely spotless when we get an inch or two. Maybe 2 inches is probably pushing it, but when we get a good inch, it'd clear straight down to the pavement. And Bedell would be like, "Hey, how's your site? Sherwin-Williams that everybody sees on YouTube. How's that site doing?" I'm like, "Bro, it looks like it's just wet." Like I'm like, "It's only been 6 hours," and he's like, He does the
Interesting.
Which I think you need to get that on a shirt, by the way. But I digress.
Available at Launchpreneur.
Yeah. Get them at definitelylandscaper.com for $20. But no, hey, so this is just we don't have any script here, but I gotta press you guys for like 10 minutes on a topic that is for real. When we talk about knowing your worth or knowing your numbers, if people say that all the time right on podcasts, you get
it's kind of starting to get burned out. Like it was so great when everyone said it, and then it's wonderful to keep hearing it. But like I'm pretty sure like the easy layup answer on a podcast is like, you got anything left to tell anybody? Yeah, knowing your numbers is important. Like it is, but
it's kind of getting beating a dead horse. But I want to know how you guys measure that. No right or wrong answers, but John, we did a podcast 3-4 months ago talking about the 3 Bs. It was probably in the first 20 episodes, maybe like 14, 15, 16. So if you guys want to go down the rabbit hole of John's podcast, great podcast. Honestly, you're probably one of the people that kind of started this whole conversation, at least mainstream, was knowing your numbers, at least on my podcast. And Bedell, when I met him 3 years ago, it's crazy. It's only been 3 years, honestly.
Yeah.
Because my business is not a one iota, one piece of equipment, 1 ounce of revenue almost. It is the same as it was just 48 months ago, let alone 36 months ago. But you were always, know your numbers, know your worth, know this, know that. And I'm like, yeah, no, dude, for sure. But I had no idea what I was talking about. And then you're like, well, what about this, this, and this? You'd ask like intriguing, like, what do you call them? Like prodding type questions.
Yeah.
Like kind of like like you were like leading me through the pasture, but like you weren't like, hey dude, like this is what you need to do. You were just like, hey, what do you think about this? And I'd give you like some soft shoe answer. And you're like, interesting. So what do you really mean? I'm like, I honestly have no idea, Bedell. So I want to, you know what I mean? You guys ever have those? It's like when a coach or a mentor or a friend like presses you, you're like, what does that really mean? I'm like, you know what, Bedell, I honestly have no idea. Everybody else says it. So that's what I want to do right now. And no right or wrong answer, but you have your budget tool.
Yeah.
I want to talk about how you budget and forecast, because this is a huge thing for you.
Yeah.
Something that's really helped me. Because I'm like, Bedell, when you get a new truck, when you get a new blower, when you get a new trimmer, and what's your typical answer? Let me look at my budget.
Yeah, it's all there's a written plan, and hopefully we don't got to deviate from the written plan. But that's there's intentionality with everything.
So we're going to talk about budgets and how you forecast.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be super, intensive and invasive like every single dollar, right?
But I can give the 101 on that.
Yeah, and then your 3 Bs. So you cue that up. Okay. We can banter back and forth because your 3 Bs, we're going to rehash that.
The 3 Bs are just budget, break evens, and bottom lines. And so
I thought it was business, bourbon, and BS.
Oh, that's the other one.
Keith Kalfas.
That's a fun time one. Yeah, this is like if you want to make money one, you should listen to Pajak.
See,
there you go.
This is great because
just take it away. You guys rock and roll. We'll just play off each other.
Yeah, most people, they hear, oh, you got to be on a budget, and they're like, oh my God, the budget.
Yeah.
This is terrible. I'm broke. I'm not that broke that I need a budget. It's like,
in full disclosure, I think both of us were people like that at one point too, right? Like,
I mean,
young us was like, budget,
because it's like, oh man, when
I don't even know how much I'm going to make this year. How do I make a budget?
You're going to tell me how I'm going to spend my money? How am I supposed
to? Which
do
first
this?
makes you realize how little you make.
Right.
That was at least
me. Yeah.
So obviously budget is the base where you start from, because it's a tool to figure out. It's going to guide you where you want to go, like whatever your goals are. It's like if you want to make $1 million, well, how do you get there? You have to have a game plan,
right?
And that budget is a huge part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we keep saying these things over and over again, but a lot of people still, it doesn't sink into there,
right?
And
so like Dave Ramsey, I'm a fan of Dave Ramsey, and then some things my audience knows I disagree with Dave Ramsey, right? Because how to create wealth, Dave Ramsey doesn't cover. He covers how to get out of debt.
Correct.
But I love Dave Ramsey in terms of getting out of debt, having a budget. One thing that was really a cool personal story for me, about the same time last year, we got a new CPA, which Bedell knows.
Yeah.
And we did this whole like tax planning and wealth planning strategy session. We have like a monthly call with him. And the first thing he did before he gave me any roadmap, any game plan, he's like, yo, you got to fill out this budget. And I'm like, well, we already budget. I know like what we do. Cause I did start to grow a budget. He's like, no, I want every dollar, every expense, from all your last like year's bank statements, every dollar we're going to account, and I want everything added up, budgeted. He's like, some banking websites have like tools to do all this.
Yeah, they do.
So I was like, I know like how much I spent on food, how much I spent on gas, entertainment, movies, clothes, and it's revealing. Like When you start tracking this all down, and I'll go, hey, how much do you think you spend a year eating out? Probably $3,000. Oh, cool. Okay, well, go run your budget. And you go back, and if you got a tool or you just print out all of your, bank statements, and you got, 30 pieces of paper laying around, and you realize you add up your food, and it might be $11,000, $20,000 when you take the family out. You go to Applebee's, and it's you and the wife and 2 kids, and you don't realize it's $90.
Yeah.
And you do that every other 3 weeks. Well, dude, you're spending $10,000 a year eating out, but you think it's $3,000, right? So that was one of my first realizations or revelations was like, dude, where's my money going? I don't know. Can you guys relate to this at all?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's there in black and white on paper, and that's
Stop
why
making stuff up is what I'm trying to say.
Right? Yeah, that's it. The budget, it's intentionality with both the intended revenue you're going to bring in your business, but also where your expenses are going to be, what you're planning on spending every month. It's no different than like Bedell when you're getting a new trailer. Well, we have it allocated in the budget 2 years from now that we're going to be buying that trailer at probably the month of February in 2022. And it's, if we need to get one sooner, we'll have to adjust the budget. If maybe we want to stretch it another year, we can adjust the budget. But that way it's not like we don't ever hit that point or rarely hit the point where it's like, oh my gosh, I need this piece of equipment and I don't even know where the money's going to come from. And I just got to go to Sheffield Financial. And
it doesn't sneak up on you.
Yeah. It's
how do you personally, no right or wrong answer, and share as much or as little as you want, but how do you approach that? Do you look at like the life cycle of a product? How many hours? Yeah. What's some good? You guys can take it away.
Go for it, John.
Because I'm learning.
When I go through budgeting with either for personal or with businesses, especially with businesses, I have a life cycle on each piece of equipment. Let's just say we're not just talking about your regular overhead expenses that are maybe monthly or bi-monthly, whatever it might be.
Yep.
We're talking like, let's just say you needed a new truck, new mower, tires for the car or the vehicle, right? Those things need to be accounted for. So like if you're sitting there and you're like, okay, my truck is going to cost this much and we're going to have this much. Okay, well, wait, what about the tires on your current vehicle?
Right.
You're talking about purchasing this new truck down the line, but guess what? We still have to maintain this vehicle that you have now.
Right.
So we have to accommodate. We have to put that money to the side. It's like, hey, it's going to be $80 for oil changes. Right. It's going to be, $1,000 for these new tires, whatever. Yeah. You have to be putting that money to the side.
And that's where
and that's where that budget comes in. It's like, so every time you're getting transactions coming in, like with the system that I've built for myself and others.
Yep.
Every time we come into it, there might be a certain percentage or just a flat rate that goes towards those types of things.
Sure. Were you saying a second ago you have like a dozen checking accounts or something like that? Was that you?
Yeah.
I've heard guys talk about this.
I essentially, yeah, I do. Like for the
business.
For the business, my personal accounts too.
Yeah.
My business is broken down almost like an envelope system.
Yep.
Except instead of, having the cash in envelopes.
Yep.
You have multiple bank accounts.
Time out. Explain the envelope thing to people.
Okay.
Because this is like old school that you grew up in the 70s, 80s, 90s. Sure. You learned about this, but not modern day.
An envelope system is essentially like you would budget your money out and you would be taking the cash. Let's just say you got paid, you're working a 9 to 5. You would break that down and be like, okay, we're going to put $50 in here for groceries. We're going to put $30 towards the electric bill, whatever it may be. That way you have that money allocated. And I basically run like a zero balance, just kind of like the Dave Ramsey thing. I'm actually a Dave Ramsey certified financial coach.
Oh,
I didn't.
I know. People know me.
But the envelope thing is catching on. QuickBooks just added it to their software. Which, if you want to deal in QuickBooks, you can hit the link in my.
There you go.
He's a QuickBooks.
But no, like the envelope system, it's caught on so much that now like standard CRM software is allowing people to implement it rather than just having to deal with it in a chart of accounts. Like I've done, like now they've simplified it where it's like, all right, well, if you want to do it a good old fashioned cash style with actual physical envelopes, you can do that. You can have a dozen checking accounts. You can do it digitally the way they're doing it. It's a smart way to do it. And I think to recap what we're saying here is when you're doing a budget, you want to base it off of, if you have them, your previous year's numbers. And that's the first step. But then you've got to do what John's saying, which is actually start looking at the things around you. And are those numbers relative to this year? Last year, did you not really have any issues or expenses, or did you not have to do a lot of vehicle maintenance? But this year, you're going to need tires, right. The transmission's not doing so good. Sure. That might be a couple grand. And so you need to add those in and maybe have the budget reflect not only the current needs of your business, but then in a crazy year like we're having here in 2020 with COVID, also maybe starting to weigh in some market conditions or factors and add those into your budget. Just to recap what John's saying is, you need to look at where your business has been and where it's going, and then your budget should be reflective of that.
Can I press you on that one?
Yeah.
Because you said in March on our first podcast, which was ironic, we did a back-to-back episode.
We did.
And then COVID hit, and then we did a kind of like a State of the Union, State of the Emergency. You and I did a great episode there. I think it was like episode maybe like 19. And then you said, I am going to adjust my budget.
Yeah, I did.
So what does that mean? What were you looking at?
Well, I was looking at the fact that we weren't going to do any work in April.
Or March.
Yeah. Well,
March or April.
Yeah, exactly. And so having to acknowledge that revenue's gone, look at what expenses are going to disappear because we're not out there producing revenue, and then what type of overhead expenses aren't going away or can't be deferred. But then I had to step back and see, okay, are we actually going to get the clients even back that we had last year? What does this new normal look like? And are we maybe going to get some of them back over a period of months rather than everyone signing up early like they've always been and fighting for a good spot on our schedule? And so I basically at that point ran two different budgets. One of them was like doom and gloom, the world might end, and like how do I make it so there's still a business in 2021?
Right.
And then the other one was like, okay, well, I don't know that we're gonna break out from last year, but like what is reasonably achievable based on like the clients we know aren't going to go away.
Right.
And thankfully, the past both the end of June, July, and now into August, we're kind of at the point where we're overachieving on those new limited goals I kind of set, or budgeted goals I set for ourselves. And so
conservative.
I went real conservative. I mean, in Landscape Management magazine, I was honest. I said I kind of gutted the budget and like knocked out 50% of our revenue.
Yep.
Well, we're at the point where if we didn't do any more work today, we're already at that point. So
awesome. I'm
seeing it probably only end up being more like maybe a 30% loss in revenue from last year. Might even be less. Might even be 20.
Might recoup.
We don't know what the next couple months are going to look like.
Right.
Thankfully, there's still been projects bubbling up and coming in, so that's good and promising. But there's like always in Michigan, more than ever, there's these couple unknown variables that aren't the governor, but are actually like, will we have a fall cleanup season? Will we get any snow in November and December? And those are either going to pad the numbers or they're going to be a problem. And
so you look at this regularly though?
Every day.
Okay, so every day.
But
that's a good.
But I typically spend the first couple hours on every Monday rather than charging right out in the field, making sure that we're starting in an accountable way every week, and then working the plan with what we're doing that week.
This is really good. I appreciate the honest, because I want practical info for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you look at your finances and your budgets, business or personal, like monthly review, weekly review?
I'm kind of anal about all these things, so I'm like on a definitely weekly basis.
Good.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
It's you're talking about your budgets that you did, and I did like kind of like the same thing. I actually developed 3 budgets when the COVID hit.
3 plays.
Where it was like, I know we should limit this to one or the other, but I'm like, okay, we're gonna have like kind of like what we did previous years. Okay, we're at reduced capacity. What's this going to look like? And then I kind of had a fire sale one.
Yeah.
To whereas if things don't get better, if we aren't allowed to work or whatever, if things all go to
we can only cut grass this year or something like that.
Something
bare
like
bones.
Something where it's just nobody wants anything extra. They just need to make sure that their house is livable in a sense, you know.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Same thing, calculated everything out. It's just like, okay, we're going to have to cut back on this. No new equipment for this part because our equipment's in good standing. We're just going to put more money towards maintenance.
Yeah.
All those things.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, that's kind of, you know, reviewing those is important because it's not just like a set and forget thing. You got to, you know, it's think of the budgets as living, breathing things.
Yeah.
They change.
Yeah.
Things change all the time. You might have plans to do one thing. Let's just say it's, you know, purchasing new equipment or, you know, even adding like another division to your services, you know. You might have to postpone those things because things may not work out. You may not hit those revenue goals because of either you screwed up or, you know, there was existing things that preventing you from doing it.
Well, one thing I wanted to visit was I've got a coaching call I did maybe about a week ago, and the guy was saying like, how do you plan your finances? How do you budget? And it was a really good conversation, and I feel good saying a lot of stuff that you guys have already covered.
It's because you're a smart guy, Brian.
Well, I don't know.
He's not that good looking.
That's why I'm on the podcast.
But he's a smart cookie.
You know, that's why I'm on the podcast. I got that radio face. Right?
Yeah, buddy.
Face for radio.
I think I learned that from Bedell. He's like, good radio face. I'm like, you think? He goes, oh, the best I know. I'm like, shut up, Bedell, you know. But this is good because I learn. We hear the language, we hear the lingo, but it's the execution, the practicing. And my feet got held to the fire as we go back full circle to my CPA because he sent me this whole budget tool. I go, yeah, dude, like we make way more than what we spend.
He's
and he
like,
goes,
so what?
He goes, that's exactly what he goes. I go, oh, dude, we're making multiples of what we're spending. And I go, I'm banking. And he goes, cool, fill this out and get back with me. Now I paid him a big check. I mean, like with a comma, big, and then multiples. And Bedell knows, and your CPA could offer this too. And but it was like he's like, we can't build the house unless we have the foundation right.
Yep.
And you guys hear stuff like this all this. And I was like, so like literally, I remember for 5 or 10 hours, just putting this whole I mean, dude, it was like a 4-page Excel thing. And if you alter one number here, everything changes.
Yeah.
It was this whole formulated thing. And because then what we did is we caught up with him on a 1-hour coaching call and we're doing a Zoom meeting. And he's like, well, if we did this, or this, or this, he goes, this, and this can happen. And so it was just really revealing because the other side of it was I'm like one of those, I don't know if you guys can listen to this, if you guys ever relate, but like for 10 years, almost 12 years, I was like struggling, what do they say, like survival mentality. And in the last 2 years, we started to make some money, put some money in the bank, but I didn't spend anything, right? I was like, I'm not spending any money. We're not doing anything. You know, I'm just that guy. I'm like, I'll just keep socking it away. And then I learned like that also might not be the most smart approach as well.
Right.
Yeah. Because if you want, let's say you want a new car and let's say you have a huge surplus and you want to go buy a car. Well, I this mentality that I talked to you guys about on the podcast, like it's so ingrained into my DNA. So I have to change the way I think if I want to change my altitude in life. And I was like, well, I want this car. We want to move to this different place. Well, the CPA was like, dude, you can do that. Like based on the numbers I'm looking at and the projections and the budget, why don't you make this move? I go, well, I'm just nervous. And he goes, but the data says you can.
Yep.
So go ahead and go do that. And I think you and I had some conversations about that with my truck back in the day. I was like, Bedell, like, this is what I want to do. And you were like, well, why do you want to do it? And you go, well, what's your cash flow? What's your expenses? And he goes, well, dude, like that's a percentage of what you're doing. And you know, it wasn't like we're balling. But you were like, dude, it's a healthy move.
Yeah, I was like, don't go buy 10 trucks. But if you're trying to buy a truck, one truck, dude, that's the money's there and it's going to make you more efficient. Like the money's there, assuming that there's no improvement from this truck.
Yeah.
And anyone who's paid attention, we've seen the improvement of having a better, more reliable
tool.
Yeah.
Ratings and reviews. Each week, we take a minute to highlight your guys' reviews of the show.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast and this far into the podcast. Once a week or twice a week, we like to review the reviews or share the reviews that we got from you guys on iTunes. Those all important reviews and ratings do go a long way with providing some social proofing for the podcast. So here we got Josh QLC, amazing podcast, puts out so much good info. The best thing to listen to while working, hands down. Well, Josh, we really appreciate that. Another one from Wildy Lawn Service. The podcast is the biggest free way to grow your lawn and landscape business to the next level. And thank you so much to Brian for the recent coaching call that will now be pushing me into Wildy Lawn Service 3.0. Thanks so much, Brian. You deserve the 5-star review. Well, hey, right back at you, brother. And then we have another one, Det LaBear. It says, this podcast is fire with the guests and the knowledge they share with the community. It says, amazing, great listen. Another one here. This is actually really funny. Lawnsmith LLC. He says, for the algorithm gods, this review is intended to please the gods and raise Brian's podcast to number 1. Seriously, great content and great guests. Keep it up. I use it for motivation every day. Well, Lawnsmith LLC, we appreciate you big time. And you know what? Those algorithm gods, they are in control, as we always say. You got to make an offering, and the offering is the 5-star rating and review. So guys, for real, we appreciate the partnership. If you guys have not left us a rating or review and you guys are on iTunes specifically, just scroll all the way down. You can see the little purple 5 stars. Leave a 5-star and a couple sentence review. It goes a long way. We really appreciate that if you guys are able to do that. All right, let's get back into the episode here, and we'll catch up with you guys inside.
Want us to read your review next? Let us know how we're doing, and we might just read your review on next week's show.
Well, and that's the thing, too. Some of you guys listening in, I don't want to go from like one ditch to the other, because sometimes on the podcast, it's get out of debt and make more money. Mm-hmm. But then some of you guys listening in, you might want to start spending some money. Yeah. Spend some money on some nicer tools. Spend some money on a nicer truck. Stop driving something that's always breaking down or a piece of equipment that's breaking down. But here's what I want to get across is how do you make those decisions? You base them on data, not emotions, not feelings, not entitlement, not years in the game.
Right. You have to, you really have to look at the numbers. They won't lie to you as long as you're keeping...
I was on a phone call earlier today.
I hope this helps you guys out. This helps me out. Because I was just like, Bedell, how do I make decisions? And you talked a lot about this stuff.
Yeah, as like I was saying, I was on a phone call earlier today about the tax planning for this year based on the budgets versus actuals for the real estate company I have.
Sure.
And it was... I almost turned into like a little bit of a heated conversation because of like... this plan wants to go this way and that plan wants to go this way, and I'm the one going, but the numbers say this.
Who was this with?
My uncle and my dad.
Okay,
so
gotcha.
It was a little family powwow, and I don't think they wanted the youth to be right. But, at the end of the day, I wasn't trying to like interject my opinion or be like, you're wrong, boomer. But it was just like guys, this is what the numbers say, and like the clock's ticking. Whatever we've done at December 31st is what we're going to be stuck with. It's what we're going to have to put on the tax return. And like, we've made it this far. We have really good projections. We know we want to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
But like,
we need to execute.
Well, that was it. We're either going to do this or we need to figure out what other things we're going to do.
Yep.
And like, I've given people like some time to make decisions, and I get it. They've been busy. There's a lot going on.
Right.
Isn't there always for all of us?
Yep.
But it's like, but like that was 6 weeks ago.
Sure.
And like, I need you to make a decision on this, or I'm going to make a decision on this. And it's just a data thing. It's not like I want to be right, you're wrong, I'm right, you're wrong, I'm right. It's none of that. It's just like, dude, this is what the data says, and we need to be smart and intentional with our money.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to figure out like what your tax load's going to be.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, you know what? We still have that 179 in availability. Why not buy some equipment that could help we could offset that right away. Our tax bill won't be as
literally big. One of the things I was saying was like, or instead of that, we need to focus on something that instead of depreciating over a bunch of years, but parting with all the cash right now, we're parting with the cash that we can actually depreciate this year rather than paying this tax bill on phantom money, basically.
Right. Well, it's this is really fun conversation that I want to just keep it here for a quick second, because one thing that I feel like sometimes guys in our industry, and this is probably something that you haven't heard me say in a while, but I also feel that sometimes we work too hard or harder than we need to be. Now,
yeah.
This was something that I was really illuminated on this last coaching call. He's like, I'm working 80 hours a week. I've got this in the bank, this coming in, and I just want to buy a new mower. And I'm like, he goes, but and then a lot of guys, I don't know if you guys listening can relate, but he goes, I haven't seen my wife. I haven't seen my kids. I'm working every day till 8 o'clock, all this stuff. And I go, whoa. I said, let's slow down. Now, we didn't have a budget in front of us, right? But I was like, what are you making for gross? And he told me. And I said, okay. I said, what are you making for, expenses? He told me. I'm like, he's like, yeah, I'm banking like this a month. I go, cool. I said, so why are you staying out till 8, 9 o'clock every night? He's like, well, I got him. And he grew up with that mentality of,
oh yeah,
if there's sunlight.
This guy sounds like me.
That's how I am too. I mean,
okay. You guys take it away. Take it away on this thought. Because sometimes we work too hard and you don't need to be working that long.
Oh man.
I am. See, nobody talks about this part.
There's, I am trying to remember, it is an actual, there's a terminology for it.
Workaholic?
FOMO? Yeah, besides that, like, I mean, I've done the same thing. I think we all have, where it's just like, all right, we're out when the sun comes up, we're out when the sun's down, and we're still doing other work. We're doing paperwork and everything at staying up to 3 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
But there's an actual term, and I'm at loss for it right now, where if you have a certain amount of time, if you give yourself a certain amount of time, you will to do a certain task.
Oh, you'll fill
that whole thing up. So that there, and I can't. I'll remember this later.
Go for it.
But the thing is, time management comes into this. This is beyond like budgets and things like this. This is almost like a behavior that you have to practice.
Sure.
If you're going to work, you have to kind of set guidelines. And I know that we're working with the weather. You've got, you could be running into traffic that could sure you for how long.
A governor who pulled the rug on your company for 5 weeks.
Exactly.
Puts you in a panic.
Yeah.
You have all these things that are against you. But at the same time, sometimes, and I know we all put our minds to it and we get down into the nitty gritty, but the thing is, if you just allow yourself, and this is the hardest thing, you have to allow yourself to follow those rules. So if you're going to work from 7 to 5,
right,
or whatever it is, okay, that is the time that you have to do this work.
Right.
That's it. Then
it challenges you.
It challenges you. So it's like, you know what? Your body, it's almost, even though you're not consciously thinking about it, you are going to sit there and your body and your mind are going to work it out and be like, we are going to get whatever this is done in this amount of time. We have to get it done.
Yep.
That's why you schedule your vacations first, right, Brian?
100%. So this all goes full circle. This is like the good stuff that I like talking about, because when you look at an average working year per year, it's 52 weeks a year, but we work 50, 2 weeks vacation, 40 hours a week. Like John just said, that's 2,000 working hours per year. Now, traditionally with a lawn and landscape company, like we get 180 working days per year. I don't know how many hours that is. It's like 1640 or something like that. So you have to, don't quote me, but I've ran these numbers. It's like 1680 hours. So like if you want to make $250,000 a year with 2,000 working hours in a 9 to 5, you have to do $125 per hour. So my coaching calls are actually going to go up starting next year, because if I want to make $250, I need to make $125 an hour. So we call it Dan Locke. The only thing I'll credit to him is daily income goals. It's his digs. Everything else he's borrowed. But anyway, just like
but he'll yell at you.
Yeah, and charge you $35,000. But anyway, God bless him. But here's the thing: if you work 2,000 working hours, you want to make $250,000. Each hour has to be $125 an hour.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break here and recognize one of our show sponsors, and that is the Steel Corporation. So a lot of you guys know Steel with their chainsaws, leaf blowers, trimmers, everything in between. So without further ado, let's hear from those guys, and then we'll get right back into the interview.
Battery power made by Steel. From trimmers and mowers to chainsaws and blowers, Steel battery tools are exactly what you need to tackle your to-do list. Whether you need to maintain your yard or completely transform your landscape. Battery power made by Steel. Steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot, always at a local Steel dealer. Real Steel. Find yours at steeldealers.com. Lowe's and the Home Depot are trademarks of their respective companies.
Awesome. We'll always appreciate Steel sponsoring the show. And as I was saying earlier, if you guys are buying gas products or battery-powered equipment from Steel, I think you guys are going to be in great hands. In fact, a lot of you guys are always asking me, what's our favorite tool from Steel? And I will say that the MS, I think it's 280 battery chainsaw is a gem. I think it's more recently updated as like the MSA 220. I think that is the newer SKU for that chainsaw. And that thing is a beast. I'm telling you guys what, we do a lot of pruning. We do a lot of shoring up of branches. I love that thing. It is a beast, and one of the most fun chainsaws that I've ever used. And then also the other question I get a lot is, what's our combi unit? Do we use the, forgive me if I don't know all the numbers, the 91 or the 111? We actually have the KM131R. So I love that thing, especially the bed redefiner tool. We have made a lot of money with that thing, with the power head, and then also the bed redefiner tool and all the other attachments that come with it. So, all right, well, without further ado, we really appreciate Steel sponsoring this episode of the podcast. We're here with John and Mike. Let's get back to those guys right here, right now.
And it goes full circle to what you said, John. Like, funny analogy, Liz and I, we had our 700 square foot apartment. It was full. And we moved in this 1,400 square foot apartment. We're like, man, this seems like a palatial estate, bro. It's like 5,000 square feet, 1,400, 5,000 square feet. This thing will never fill it. It took us about 3 months to fill it up.
Oh, yeah.
Because you grow to your space.
Right.
And so here's where it goes full circle. If you want to work 7 to 7, 7 days a week, and you think that's the answer, I will be honest, you're a little misled. Like what John said is that if you work from 7 to 5 and you need to make $4,000 a week in revenue, or $6,000 or $25,000 a week in revenue, you will start getting creative on how to add value by being 9s and 10s in certain things to make sure that that 40 or 50 hour week work is productive and profitable. You guys, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's the end goal. Like every once in a while, you're playing. We're all going to play from behind, and to use a hockey analogy, you got to double shift, right? You got to dig deep. You're behind because of the weather.
You pull the goalie.
That's it. You got to be Patrick Wan, freak everybody out, and pull the goalie with like 8 minutes left. But then your team starts scoring goals and coming back, and you don't seem like the crazy one anymore.
Yep.
But at the same time, he's not going to do it every single game.
Yeah, that's called spring for us.
Yes. Yeah, and that's it.
That's the first 10 weeks.
Like I was telling Paul, like this is the first day in a couple weeks that I've actually had off.
Chill out.
But I've been working to this point in the schedule where like I knew basically about the time we went to work, like, okay, well, next 12 weeks are just like
hustle.
Gone. Like I'll get days off because of weather. There's a few family things. There'll be other things that come up. But beyond that, like I don't really have a choice. I just got to literally like haul butt through this and then once I get through these next 12 weeks, then there's like a little breathing room in the schedule. And so one of the things I did was adjust some vacation time that I had in June and July that I was anticipating on being able to take and had to kind of shift it into August and September.
Sure.
So,
well, this is when we say, what does knowing your numbers mean? To me, it almost gets broken down into two things, and there's probably subcategories. But for me personally, one is knowing your value, knowing your self-worth, right? Like I've talked about that on episode 84. You have to know your value as like a human being. That can be based on your intelligence, your skill set, you're a 9 or a 10 in your craft. That's like your actually productivity, your production, your value. That's like knowing your worth to me is number one. The other side of knowing your numbers, right? It to me is balance sheets. What'd you call them? The 3 Bs?
Yeah.
What's the 3 Bs again?
Budgets, break-evens, and bottom lines.
Right, and so looking at your P&Ls, your percentages. I get reports all the time from my payroll company monthly. I get them from my bookkeeper monthly. My CPA sends me stuff all the time. I look at them. I'll be honest with you. I need to get more intimate with them because to me, it's just numbers and numbers and numbers. I'm like, dude, and I look at percentages and this, I'm like, I see this percentage. Is that healthy? Is it not healthy? I don't know. Hence why I do a monthly coaching call with my CPA. Where are we at? How are we navigating this?
That way they can walk you through it, and over a period of time, you build understanding. That way you know exactly what you're looking at, and then eventually you'll be able to look at it and come back with intelligent questions and say, well, this is what I'm seeing. Is this what you're seeing? How can we steer the ship from it? And those are the type of conversations I was having this morning where it's 3 people who now at this point, I think, generally understand, at least 2 of us do, generally understand all those numbers, and you're able to actually take all that data instead of just go like, I don't know, these are numbers on a sheet. Good thing this isn't a math test. Like,
who knows?
You actually are able to do something with all that data.
Yeah, no, this is really good. Again, when we talk about what the heck does knowing your numbers mean, like it starts, the foundational tool is a budget.
Yes.
Now, I don't care if you go to Dave Ramsey's website. I'm sure he's got a free download. Type it into Google. You get a free download. You got a budget tool.
ThatFreelandscaper.com.
You got a free tool. I went with my CPA. Like, dude, it was like the 6-page document. It was the most intimate document I've ever filled out besides my tax return with a different person. And dude, like, I mean, electricity bill. He's like, how much you spend a week on coffee? Like, it was like a separate thing. I'm like, because people are so addicted to coffee and energy drinks. And then another one's like eating out and fast food. Like, dude, it was so. I'm like, why do we need to know this stuff? This is so stupid. I'm like, I'm making more than I'm expecting. That is not an excuse or a pass to not. And John, you said to get the budget with the envelopes. Maybe you're old school. Take your $700 a week or $1,000 a week. You got your 7 or 8 different envelopes. John has 31 checking accounts. You know what I mean?
Well, 36 if you count the 4 that we don't talk about.
I think you just opened up 4 more. Well, those are.
I saw it. Was that you were doing on your phone? You opened another one?
I opened up 4 more.
Were you at CaymanIslands.com or something? You know?
Yeah, it's actually .org.
Oh, those are offshore ones.
CaymanIslands.Bahama. You know what I mean? Like BA. You know. But even if you do the envelope system, like and what happens if you want to go spend $50 and take your girl out, but you only budget $50 every 2 weeks?
Then
tough.
Yeah, then it's gone.
Go watch Netflix.
Once
stay
it's
at
gone,
home.
it's gone.
Go get out Twister, and you're
not
old
spending
school.
money that's not there.
Don't borrow. Don't cross-contaminate. Don't be like, yeah, you
Rob
know what?
Peter to pay Paul.
I'm going to sit there and take from our fueling account to pay for this. It's like, no.
Nope. This is, you know what this is? This is old school, like discipline type conversation that is just not taught in our current generation. It's just not. Like, there's no accounting or finance taught in school anymore like this.
And there's a lot more focus on how do you
leverage debt.
Or work around that. Definitely that, and work around the system. Like, there's no like, see what you did? Yeah, you're going to have to clean that up. It's going to be a long 24 months. Like, that's why,
24 years.
Yeah, Dave Ramsey ends up yelling at a lot of people on his podcast because, like, they need that honest bit of truth of someone to go, like, see what you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go fix that. No one's coming for you. You got to go fix that.
I realized that a handful of years ago. I was like, dude, the cavalry ain't coming. And that was like a...
I always remember when Keith Kalfa said that on your stage. I'm like, dude, that's deep. Like, no one's coming for you.
I don't have an out. You?
No.
Yeah.
Hard work, man.
Yeah.
Hard work and dreams. And that's my out.
Well, and the other side of it, too, is if you want to go leverage debt, I like leveraging debt for my business. Some people don't. Some people do. That's up to you. Go listen to episode, it's called Don't Dull the Scalpel. I think it was called like episode 18. You'll understand more of what I'm talking about. If you want to leverage it, go for it. If you don't, then don't do it. But you can't leverage debt unless you know your budget.
Yeah,
see, exactly. It all goes full circle. So that's the foundation that I wanted to talk about this. Because everybody, Bedell, John, everybody's like, oh, know your numbers. And I'm like, what does that mean? It's like so hyperbole. Like, dude, why don't I put your feet to the fire?
Can we start the new know your numbers on this podcast?
What's that?
And that's like, let's just all start talking about our accounts receivable instead. Like, everyone knows you should know your numbers. But, like, that's a black eye in this industry or the elephant in the room. Like, all these guys, maybe I don't have a budget. Oh, I'm making all this money. Like, dude, who owes you money right now, especially in this market conditions we've got? We don't know what's coming down the pipeline. Like, you ought to be cutting clients off or getting money.
Tighten up your cash flow.
Yeah, that's it. There's a reason that got, this card on file like you've got, or I make a lot of people prepay for stuff. It's like, we're not the bank.
Yeah.
I mean, years ago when 2016, we were, first of all, we started out as prepay only.
Smart.
And we didn't care if it was cash, check, or credit card, but we would bill out before, and then you would have whatever segment of services that you paid for. And then, usually it was a monthly deal. A few years ago, switched over to card on file.
Sure.
Everybody had a card on file. We would charge the same day as services were completed.
Sure.
We still take cash and things, but when we take cash or check, it's a prepay.
Right.
So those are the conditions that we have. So we are never really chasing money.
Yep.
The only time that we might have to chase money is if the card bounces.
Sure.
It's whether it has expired or there wasn't enough money in insufficient funds.
Yep.
And then
but that's 1%.
Then you're sitting there and you're like, you just shoot an email or you make a phone call, be like, hey, we had an issue with your card. We need another one put on file. Get that taken care of. You're not chasing months of revenue.
Dude, I'm not kidding. When I was a debt collector 2.5 years ago. I'm not kidding. I would do 12, 14 grand of revenue. 9 of it would come in, like, $4,000 1 week, $2,000 1 week, every other week, $3,000 the third week. 1,500, and then I was always owed $2,500. Always
Dude,
owed.
I had a jaw dropper of a conversation earlier this week with another contractor. He wanted to bring me in to do some irrigation work, and this is a really nice site. And I've seen pictures of the site, and I said to the guy, I'm like, yeah, looks like a cool account. I go, is this guy good at paying? And he literally goes, I've been so busy, I haven't had a chance to send him an invoice yet. And I was just like, what?
Dude,
and I was just like, man, that is like a 10-year-old problem that should have been resolved 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And guess how interested I was in that lead and helping him out at that point. I wasn't. I literally said, all right, buddy, I'm getting off at this exit, dude. Good luck with all that. Like, you need to bill him. Take care. And I think I hung up the phone.
Unless he prepays you as a subcontractor.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a $1,500 retainer, bro.
That's it. That's it.
That's so interesting.
And, a lot of people, they're like, oh, hey, Pajak, that's easy to say, you got cards on file. What about commercial? What about industrial areas?
Sure.
Even with our commercial contracts, we don't sit there and go, we're abiding by your terms because we want this. We've set our terms. We make our terms. Mm-hmm. And most of the people that end up coming with us, they agree to them.
Yeah.
So and the way I describe it is, they'll always end up paying with, the corporate check or whatever.
Sure.
For the prepays. It's everybody has this mindset in our industry. They're like, no, people won't do that. People won't do. I'm like,
yes, they will.
They will do it.
Don't take them on as a client then.
If they're not going to do it, it's because you're not presenting yourself as a reliable contractor, and you've already put fear in them before you've done any work.
Yeah.
Versus,
that's a great way to say it.
If you're a reliable business, like when I was talking with Paul, I was telling him part of the reason I qualify clients and I'm not looking to get into a bidding war. And the second somebody says, well, I'm looking at other companies or I'm going to get other bids, I just say, talk to me at the end on that. Then if you still want to talk to someone, because I'm not looking to chase money. I'm not looking to this other guy's offering me these terms, this and if you want to work with us, here's the parameters that I do business in. And if you don't, it's a big world out there. Like, someone else is a better fit for you, and you're not a good fit for us, and that's okay.
But when you're operating in that scarcity mindset, you're grasping for straws. And the sooner you will never get out of that cycle until you mentally get out of that cycle. And you have to get out of it mentally by putting your foot down and start demanding differently. Like you said, like the tail wags the dog, no more of that.
Yeah.
Like when we were the only commercial contract that I have that's net 30 is a large national retailer. But everybody else, Bedell knows, we invoice every 2 weeks in the winter. Yep. And in the summer, it's 30 days. But in the winter, when you get $7,000 worth of snow and salt in a week, I ain't waiting no 30, 45, 60 days.
And most of the people at these big companies that are paying you, they get paid every 2 weeks. So,
or every month.
Yeah, so whether it's the card on file or every 2 weeks, that way you're staying current with cash flow and not letting them build up this huge bill.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. It's accounts receivable has become like the white elephant in the room. And I think
it's like hot potato.
Yeah, I think that should be how we address the rest of 2020 for everyone's benefit, because we don't know what's coming down the pipeline the next couple months.
How much money is owed to you right now, Bedell?
$450.
Paycheck?
Zero.
And that's another contractor that's not you.
Yeah.
That
I was like, do I owe you something?
No. Like he knows he owes me the money, and I'm getting it in a couple weeks. And there's like it was basically like, I've been his friend a long time, and because it wasn't a big deal for me, I was willing to come in and help him out, knowing that I wasn't going to get paid for about a month on it.
So you understood the agreement?
Yeah, it was very similar to, like, it's not Troy Klog, obviously, but like when you were in his office and one of his right-hand guys was like, oh yeah, if Bedell, man, if I needed something, I'd call him, or vice versa.
100%.
And it wouldn't be about the money.
Yep.
That we'll figure that out later.
Yep.
It was one of those situations where, like, he needed this done. He was about to, like, literally get, like, blown out of the water from the owner on this account.
Yeah.
Because, like, someone had really messed up the irrigation system.
How to get it done.
And I went on a Saturday. I figured it out. I replaced some heads, and I probably should have charged him more money, knowing that I. Yeah, but anyway, it's one of those things where, like, it's still a win-win for everybody, and that's it. Otherwise, like, everyone else is paid up. Like,
so less than 1%.
Dude, yeah, I'm not. I've done this long enough. I'm not chasing money.
How much from last year?
Oh, nothing.
Jack, how much from last year?
That was owed to me?
Yeah.
Nothing.
I'm not kidding.
I didn't even write off bad debt last year.
Yeah, neither did I. 100% of our invoices were paid.
I'm not kidding. When I do these podcasts for you guys that are listening, like, you guys,
we're not
understand.
saying that to be braggadocious.
No.
It's because it's really important.
That's why
we get our money.
That's why I have you two on the podcast right now. Like, budgets, balance sheets, and bottom lines, knowing your numbers, knowing your worth. I got that from Bedell 3 years ago. And I listened to Jonathan with Florida Turf Pros. Him and I were catching up. I said, how are you doing your billing? Because we run a really similar business, mostly maintenance. And you were doing Jobber and QuickBooks. And then I said, well, I was using like Square. And for all of you guys listening that are like Cash or Venmo or PayPal or this.
Cash App.
Dude, I'm not throwing you under the bus by any means. Like you guys got to hear what I'm saying. But what I want to do is help you guys grow more successful lawn and landscape businesses. And if we don't approach it with a certain level of responsibility and maturity, there's a baseline level of maturity. And if you're operating underneath that, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to have exposure issues, cash flow issues, liability issues. We've got to make sure we're running real, tangible, legitimate businesses. And that's why these two aren't bragging. They're not coming from this like authoritative pose or stance, but it said, guys, this is what all my coaching calls. It's branding, marketing, and then how do you build your team? How do you structure your company? And there'll be way more resources coming out about this, but final thoughts. Pajak, you're up.
I was just going to say,
this is good.
20 years ago, I had to chase money all the time, and it became almost a part-time job.
100%.
And it wasn't even for my company. It was for the gentleman that I was working for.
Oh, sure.
I had to chase his money down.
Account manager turned debt collector.
Essentially, I'm sitting, I'm like a laborer that's like, okay, we did the work.
Knocking on doors.
Hi, Mr. Smith. You were like 2 months behind. We need to get paid right now.
Oh, I sent the check in the mail, honey.
Exactly.
Oh, it's been in the grill. Oh, it's in the back grill. You ever get those, Bedell?
No.
Under the floor, under the doormat?
It's under the doormat.
No, I remember what that was like, but man, not anymore.
It's in the grill. It's under the doormat. It's taped to the inside of the front door. The little metal screen door part.
Oh boy.
It's under the front rock. It's in the mailbox.
Is that their weather rock?
Is that the one that when it rains, it's wet?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I've got a patent on the weather rock. Okay, Bedell knows. It's a whole funny story. Bedell's my weather guy. He's Bedell is full-time weatherman, part-time landscaper. Don't let him fool you. Okay. So he's my meteorologist. Again, you can make 6 figures a year being a weather person and be wrong 7 days a week and still get paid $100,000 a year. I'm going to tell my kid that's your career path. You know what I'm saying? That's called job security right there.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, open mic. Final thoughts. I want to do this episode for you guys because I don't want this elusive, like you said, Bedell, this elephant in the room, this elusive creature. Know your worth, know your numbers. Cool. What does that mean? Let's press, because I've been pressed. I've sweated bullets in front of my CPA. I've sweated bullets in front of Bedell. I'm like, yeah, dude, totally, bro. Like, and he's like, yeah, you have no idea what you're talking about, do you? I go, no, I don't. I go, but that was me 3 years ago. And there's still stuff today where I don't fake it. I don't fake it till I make it. Because if you do that for too long, you're going to be swimming in a riptide and you are not nobody's coming to save you.
Yep.
Because you're going to go down. And we're going to let you go down because I'm not having collateral damage because we already threw a lifeline out there, right? It's like the old one. What's the old meme? It's like the guy's drowning in water and a boat comes by and the guy goes, hey, man, you need some help? No, man, God's going to save me. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. No big deal. 2 seconds later, another boat comes by. Hey, man, you need some help? Looks like you're drowning. No, God's going to save me. The boat says, fine, screw it. He zips away, and then the guy drowns and dies, gets to heaven. God, I thought you were going to save me. He's like, I sent 2 boats, dummy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right? So, guys, let this be your warning and let this be your encouragement that if you haven't set out a budget, sit down with your wife. I mean, what's the old one? Like more people spend more mental thought on planning a 2-week vacation than they do their financial lives. Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
I mean, 100%. I'm
done. Final thoughts for you guys and we're out.
Hundreds of people have downloaded the budget download, and I can probably count on less than 2 hands the number of people who've reached out and said, I don't understand what this means. Can I get on the phone with you, or can I ask you some questions, or DM you some questions? And I found that interesting because I was kind of actually hoping more people would reach out, because it's okay if you download it and you're lost. Like,
and you don't know.
Yeah, reach out to Brian, me, Pajak, Jamison, anybody.
Reach out to these 2 guys. Yeah. That's why you guys are my go-to for these number things.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is huge.
And that's it. We've said all this from a place of love. Like, we want you guys. Yeah, we do.
My 2 teddy bears, man. These guys are.
We want everyone to succeed, and gosh, it's 2020. We've had enough unusual things this year. I mean, they just took away our family reunion.
Yeah,
and so if you can't look forward to the fun stuff, look forward to improving yourself. And whatever it's going to take. Like, okay, so that big networking opportunity got yanked from you. That means you're going to have to get on the phone, send some direct messages, send an email, figure out how to put yourself out there. You're not going to run into us in a mega cavern this year.
Right. Yeah. Pajak, final thoughts? Bedell, great job, for real. Thank you for being on the show.
Anytime, brother.
Pajak?
Real quick, just remember, budgets are tools to help you achieve the goals you want.
Yes.
Break evens, that's when you figure out that budget to know what you absolutely have to make in order to stay in business. And then, your bottom lines, once you know that break even point, you could charge what you need to charge, and that bottom line is your profit. That's like, hey, we're successful now. It's not a mystery. It's not a guess. It's not just
this arbitrary number.
Let's just throw it up against the wall and see what sticks. No, you are the master of your own destiny. You could control this.
This sets me free. So, I'm going to be honest with you guys. Bedell, people are like, what did Bedell teach you? Not like we always try to quantify it. It wasn't anything specifically, but he would just make not off the hand comments. What would you call it? Just you just poke.
It was a mindset change.
You're like, hey, dude, what do you think about this?
So a lot of people are used to this BS societal conversation that we learned growing up in public school or in social situations, and you learn to just kind of nod your head and agree. Like someone says something, and you're supposed to just go, bro, sweet, totally.
I get it, bro.
Dude, Daddy's so cool.
Oh, dude, good for you, man. That's rocking. And
because if you don't know, you don't want to look like an idiot.
And
that's how I felt.
I liked Brian enough as his friend that when he said stuff that I could tell I'm not so sure about that. Because I cared about him, I'd be like, damn, what do you mean by that? Because one of two things is either going to happen. Either maybe I don't know everything. In fact, I don't know everything. So maybe Brian's going to teach me something. Or maybe it's an opportunity to pour on my friend and go I'm not so sure that someone's explained that to you well. Or do you understand that there could be other ways of doing this that could be more advantageous to you? And
100%.
I want to see, you guys are all my friends and you've seen what Brian and I have done here. I want nothing but the best for Brian and Liz and Teddy and Frank and the whole family. And the reason they're upward and onward is because, we've got this collective mindset of doing what we need to do, whether it's fun or not, so that at the end of the day we can be where we want to be.
I love it. My goal 3 years ago was to not have anything be fake, phony, non-effective, non-productive. I mean, I want to know intimately what I'm talking about. Like you said, because I know that if I have a platform, I want to talk with credibility. I don't say I got it all figured out, but I've taken the accumulation from a lot of people like a Bedell, like a John Pajak. And I've had to, like you said, make it my own secret sauce. I had to make my own, flavor to it to make it make sense for my business. Yeah. I mean, you got to personalize it, right?
Definitely.
You can't, you know what works, it's not a formula that you could duplicate 100% of the way. Like Bedell's company, it might work, it's working for his, but taking all of it and putting it in mind, it may not work.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
You have to tweak it just a little bit. And that's why, looking at, knowing your numbers, looking at your budgets, tweaking things, treating it as a living, breathing thing, just everything.
It's fluid, like Bedell was saying.
Yeah, it's fluid.
Dynamic.
That's why I got to spend time on it every week, because the things will change, and sometimes they're good changes, like making more money, or sometimes they're like, I need to spend some money at Weingart.
Yeah. Exactly.
I spent another $100 than I want, more than I was anticipating on equipment repair. Where's that money coming from?
I just literally remember Bedell, like the same time last year. I spent a guy with our new CPA, and he's a big boy club for me, and I paid him a lot of money, and Liz was like, dude, we need to get this done by Monday. Like, we got our conference call in a couple hours, or it was next day. I said, but when you get home at 4, she's like, we don't have hours to do that in the evening. She's like, we need to do all day today. And I was like, I don't want to do it because I don't want to do it either. Just like you guys don't want to do it. It's it's work. It's not the really super fun stuff for me.
And it doesn't look pretty.
There's nothing sexy about it.
Yeah. I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to sell. I want to make a video. I want to. And Liz is like, dude, we just paid him a gob. Like, we're the idiots if we don't. He's already got his money.
You don't see results of it. It's not like, well, I just cut these 5 lawns and put $200 in my pocket or whatever it is. Did this landscape job and made $10,000. But without the budget, you're just kind of shooting from the hip. You like maybe you're making money or maybe not making money. What are you trying to do with that money? Where's the intentionality with that? Like what business goals are you trying to achieve? What direction are you taking your business? Otherwise, like, great, you made some money on a job. So what?
What are you going to do with it?
This is good.
What is it going to? Is that money just going to sit there doing nothing? Is it going to end up getting put to the side for something better?
Yeah.
Is it going to be used for tools? Is it going to be used for self-improvement? Is it all these things, you know?
I heard somebody say when money comes in, it's already got to know where it's going.
Yeah.
Like we've all, some people have heard that.
That's why I go to work that's why I start the week in my office, because then at that point, like, I want to go to work on Tuesday. I want to go to work. Yeah, because like I want to make this money because I want to go do X, Y, and Z with it. And it's the lifeblood of me, of my business, of my lifestyle, of my wealth strategy, of it's my piece of this earth.
That's good. When cash is coming in, it's called currency because it has to stay in current.
Yes.
Learned that from Rich Dad, right? So when it comes in, it needs to be moving. If not, there's more tax advantages if it's moving. That's a whole nother story. This is good. So, Pajak, where can they find you? Bedell, where can they find you? Any final thoughts? And then we're out, guys. This has been really, really good. I hope you guys have gotten some value out of this. If so, tag us and repost on Instagram. Let us know. Show us some love. Shoot these guys some DMs and definitely follow them. But Pajak, where can they find you? And then Bedell, and we'll sign off.
John Pajak Financial Coaching.
Yes.
It's right now there's a business page on Facebook, and there's a new website coming out on August 14th.
What?
So
you heard it here first. I need like one of those sound things. Whoa, 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 whoa.
So yeah, that'll be coming out. It's getting tweaked right now.
And you've coached a lot of people.
Yes, and
what an asset that is for everybody, man. That's amazing.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. And basically, we could do consultations where I also do have courses where one of the big one is the budgets, break-evens, and bottom lines course.
It's work.
And it's
work. Don't sign up and waste his time. It's work.
Exactly. You need to work. I mean, I do help. Yeah, you know what? It's not just coaching on that part. I got to tell people, because I've had, people come to me.
Yeah.
And they get a little nervous with the pricing on it. But I'm like, you have to work at this while I'm working for you on this. Yeah. It's not just
it's homework.
It's not a hands-off thing with me, even though I realize it probably should be more hands-off on my part, because I get way too involved in other people's businesses. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I mean, you guys could see I'm getting in my chair and I'm like,
John's getting shifty.
I'm like, you got.
If you don't hit these numbers, it will break my heart.
You got to change this, man. You got the potential right now. You've got the income coming in, and you're about to break through.
Yeah.
But you're screwing up over here, and I got to be nice about it because I don't want to scare them or anything. But at the same time, I'm like, please just do the work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Follow what I'm doing and just do the work that I ask you to.
Yep.
And it's gonna pay off for you, please.
I love it.
And then I have some people that just kind of like
fall off.
That's too hard. I'm like, that's what I'm here for. Whenever you get down, I will call you, I will text you, or I will send my
that's huge
things. And I try to keep people motivated. Some of them fall off, but I'll tell you what, the people that stick through it,
your life is better for it.
Much better. Even now with the 2020, things have rocked people.
Yeah.
Listen,
people have been rocked.
If you guys aren't taking care of this now, do it in the off season, okay? Maybe you don't want to change the world today. Just put this in the back of your brain. Start in October, November. Listen, we all, things slow down, right? All across the country.
If you came to me 4 weeks ago and told me I had to do something like this, I'd be like, I'll see you in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm working this plan, and we can talk about yours in 4 weeks.
Yeah. That's fine, too. That's just like we were saying, like, don't let it turn from a splinter to an infection that takes off your arm, okay? Like, solve these problems, because if you don't, like, I hate to say it, but you're going to get what you deserve. And you got to, again, the cavalry isn't coming.
Best case scenario, it's something with, like, the IRS or something that you can legally navigate. Worst case scenario, you end up like homeless, or your wife leaves you, or
stress.
You wake up and your truck's gone because it got repossessed.
Yeah, we don't want to see any of that for you guys.
We love you guys too much for any of that.
Yeah, just not talking about anybody specifically. Had somebody that actually happened where divorce got into got into play because things were so out of control in his business.
Sure.
It affected his personal life. Woke up one day, truck and trailer were gone because the trailer was hooked to the truck, and I guess they just
took it all.
Took everything.
Not their problem.
And Yeah, so that we were working together, and we have been. I couldn't fix his marriage.
Right.
That's not my job.
No.
That was beyond.
That's a different program.
That's out of my. That's
financial coach, not life coach.
Yeah, you need Tony Robbins for that one.
That was totally out of my scope of work, but we were able to get his equipment and everything back, so that he had his livelihood back.
Sure.
Thank God.
And he's
making
fighting.
adjustments.
He's fighting to get through it. And
Yeah.
if he hears this, I'm not saying your name, but
yeah,
we love you, and
let's do it.
You're going to be all right, man.
Yeah, you're going to be
You're
all
gonna
right.
Be all right.
I love it. This is good. Any last thoughts, Bedell? I'll definitely social so they know where to find you.
Yeah. On Instagram at Bedell Management or at Debt Free Landscaper, and then you guys can always go over to debtfreelandscaper.com. If you haven't paid attention yet, free budget download tool, and then all our agreements, contracts are available. Snow contracts, I know that'll be useful for you guys. Done real well for Brian and I. So
and you run Bedell Property Management, your lawn and landscape company, Metro Detroit, Michigan, right by me.
Yep.
Debt Free Landscaper is a new resource last 18 months that he put together to give his subcontracting agreements, his contracts. Like, I use a lot of his documents, and I pressed you. I said, Bedell, like, the community needs this stuff. You're like, yeah, no, I mean, like, not really. I'm like, no, like, we do. Like, please. And you made this resource.
100%. This is Brian played a big hand in that, where I just shared some things with him, some of these different agreements. You're like, everyone could use this.
I know how much it's helped me.
Yeah.
Again, and I didn't want to fake it till you make it, right? Because I wanted to make sure that the info we're giving to you guys, it's gospel, it's credible, it's authentic. You know, like, you could press me, everything that we're sharing with you guys, I'm doing, right? And
likewise,
I also don't like doing everything that I'm telling you guys to do, but I do it anyway, right? Because the alternative,
it's not always comfortable, but you got to do it.
Yeah, especially when you get naked with all your finances. Because what's the three things you don't talk about? Politics, religion, and money. And so
I talk about money all the time.
All I talk about is
that rule.
All I talk about is money and politics and religion. So no wonder I'm an equal opportunity offender, right? So debtfreelandscaper.com, Bedell Property Management on Instagram, John Pajak, I think.
John Pajak.
Coaching. Financial coaching. We'll leave all the links in the description. We're actually doing this while Paul is here, so we're going to get running so we can go hang out with him. He's up here at my house doing a summer tour, which is exciting. But go back through, listen to the episode, Don't Dull the Scalpel, things like 18, and then 84 with You Don't Get What You Want, You Get What You Tolerate. That was a really good episode.
It was a good episode.
They'll both correlate with knowing your worth and knowing your numbers and also leveraging debt. So, all right, guys, that's it. Thank you so much to you fellas for jumping on. This is like totally just winging it on this podcast. We're in my living room right now.
That we are.
And you guys both just hit it out of the park. So great job to both of you guys.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Good
Love it. Awesome. All right, guys, we'll catch up with you on the next episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered. Don't forget to leave those all-important ratings and reviews. And, guys, we'll catch up with you on the next one.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.